Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place where we dig through, well, all sorts of articles, research, our own notes, really, to find those key insights, those nuggets of knowledge, just for you.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we're diving into a world that, let's be honest, many of us know. Online dating. It can be thrilling, sometimes confusing.
Definitely confusing sometimes.
Right. But it's also strategic. There's a game to it. So our mission today, we want to cut through all the noise. We've got this really comprehensive guide, and we're pulling out the surprising facts, the valuable tips, basically giving you a shortcut to making real, meaningful connections online.
Yeah, and it's important to remember, just because it looks simple, swiping, it's really not that straightforward. You got to think of it like any game, really. It has rules, and you need to go in with your head screwed on straight, be earnest about it, because the source material we looked at, it hammers this point home. If you're not serious, things can go sideways.
Haywire, as they put it.
Exactly. Haywire. And the real trick, the fascinating part, is that people are just so different. Their tastes, their interests. It's exactly like the real world, just online. So finding someone who actually clicks with you, that takes, well, strategy.
Okay, let's unpack that. Finding a partner.
Yeah.
I mean, for millennia, people met through family, friends, maybe just bumping into each other.
Sure, the old ways.
Yeah. But this idea of using a machine, the internet, to actively search for a life partner, that's actually pretty new in the grand scheme of things. So what really makes it so different?
Well, it fundamentally changes the dynamics. The internet itself, its power, right? Our guide calls it unlimited possibilities in communication.
Unlimited, wow.
Yeah, and that's both the best thing about it and potentially the worst.
Okay, how so?
On one hand, you can have these incredibly deep chats, talk about everything, tastes, preferences, likes, dislikes, obsessions, you name it before you even meet.
Right, so you're not total strangers walking into that first date.
Yeah. Exactly. Big advantage. But that same anonymity, that digital screen, it creates what the guide calls a space for guile.
Guile. Sounds ominous.
It can be. It opens the door for practical jokers, or worse, people with genuinely devious intentions. It's definitely a double-edged sword you need to be aware of.
Okay, so given that downside, that potential for things going wrong, why is online dating just everywhere now? It's huge.
Yeah.
Our sources point to some really practical reasons.
Yeah, there are some compelling ones.
Like speed. Think about sending letters back and forth could take a week for one exchange.
Oh, yeah. Ages.
Now, email. The guide says an amazing 2 minutes sometimes. It even jokes, waving may make the heart grow fonder, but email makes two people get close faster.
That's pretty good.
And then there's privacy. You can talk from your own home, complete privacy, no eavesdropping, no one overhearing things.
Very true. Big plus.
And beyond just speed and privacy, the sheer options. Voice chat, video calls. You can get pretty close, short of actually being there, right?
Absolutely. Stops short only of the physical touch, as the guide puts it.
Think about that. Seeing someone, hearing their voice, getting a real feel for them before you're even in the same room.
Yeah.
And it doesn't cost a fortune either. Just need a computer, internet.
Yeah. Compared to traditional dating costs, it's often peanuts. Really opens it up to more people.
It really does.
But zooming out, fundamentally, it taps into that basic human need for connection.
Right.
Dating, especially as you get older, it's not just about sex. Our guide makes a point that sex takes the back seat. Things like mutual support, shared values, cooperation, caring. That comes to the forefront.
Yeah, the deeper stuff.
Exactly. Now, obviously, the primary urge to procreate is under there somewhere, driving desire. But the guide frames dating as the most dignified means to fulfill that need for partnership. And it says something really profound. Nobody, not one of us, is complete without a partner. Online dating is just a very modern, very fast way to try to find that completeness.
That is powerful. And yeah, the guide pulls no punches. Online dating is the real thing. It's here. It's not going anywhere.
For sure.
It offers that privacy, the cost savings you just don't get from, I don't know, fancy balls or whatever people used to do.
Right. Evening balls or social gatherings. Seems quaint now.
Doesn't it? But, and this is crucial, you still need your common sense switched on. Need to watch out for those lurid monsters lurking out there, as the guide vividly puts it. It's about being smart, strategic.
Always strategic.
So let's move to that strategy. Step 1, getting started on the right foot. The guide really warns against just jumping in without thinking.
Yeah, like fools rushing in.
Exactly. It specifically says don't just go into a general chat room and announce, hey, I'm available.
Oh gosh, no.
Apparently, that just makes you feel like you're, quote, putting yourself up for sale. And if you're serious about finding someone long-term, stay away from the singles chat rooms.
Big warning sign there.
Yeah, the guide says they're often virtually flooded with people only after one thing, sex. Yeah. Which is fine if that's what you want, but if not, it's going to be, quote, infuriating.
Absolutely infuriating. So this leads to a really key strategy the guide pushes, working backwards.
Working backwards. How does that work?
It means thinking about the end goal, a life partner, and designing your search around that. The guide is pretty blunt. It says finding the pick of the litter is not easy.
Doesn't sound easy.
No. But then it immediately says, but you do find it. It is going to be worth the effort. It's about being proactive, not just reacting to whoever pops up.
Okay, proactive. And a big part of that seems to be looking more than looks, which feels kind of counterintuitive online, right? It's so visual.
It really is. But the guide insists, for serious long-term relationships, physical qualities are not so important.
Really? Not so important.
Compared to compatibility, no. It says compatibility is probably the most important factor. It even suggests you can grow to like the looks of a person once you connect with their character. You know, that old saying, beauty is only skin deep.
Huh. It's true, though, when you think about it.
Yeah. And building on compatibility, the guide dives into common interests and, maybe more subtly, what interests you in a person.
Okay.
It's not just about having the same hobbies. It's about whether your interests complement each other and not clash.
Complement, not clash. Like what?
Well, the example given is like two people who both absolutely love to talk nonstop. Where's the space for listening?
Right. Or two super quiet people.
Exactly. Awkward silence potential. So it makes you ask yourself, you know, how do your interests fit with someone else's? How could they create a good dynamic, not just overlap?
That's a really good question to ask yourself. So practically, how do you use this? The guide talks about keyword searches.
Right. Using the search functions on dating sites, or even broader search engines, to find people who genuinely share those specific interests or values you're looking for.
Ah, okay. So it's targeted. Much better than just posting in a random chat room.
Way more effective. The guide says the hard part isn't falling in love, necessarily. It's making the right choice. Falling for the right person for you.
Making the right choice.
Okay.
And for that, the source puts this surprising emphasis on likes versus dislikes.
Dislikes. Really more important than likes.
It says just as important, or even more important. Yeah. There's this strong warning against being too accommodating, too adjusting early on.
What's that bad? Isn't compromise good?
Compromise is good, but pretending things don't bother you when they really, really do, that's bad. Because, as the guide says, you're potentially going to be living the rest of their lives with the person, right? This isn't just a weekend camping trip where you tolerate someone snoring.
Trying to sort of mold someone out of habits you find offensive. The guide says that just leads to nagging, and eventually affection dies down. So what's really key here is being upfront, honest about your deal breakers from the get-go.
Wow, okay. Be honest about dislikes. That takes guts. But I see the long-term logic, which kind of leads into this other idea, the friends first philosophy.
A big one.
The guide says it really pays off to just make friends online. Don't put all the pressure on finding the one immediately.
Yeah, broaden the goal.
Because ideally, your spouse should be your best friend as well.
Right.
Somebody you can share everything with, dreams, fears, someone who gets you. It puts it in perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This is a very far cry from sex, right?
Totally different focus. And then, when things do progress, maybe someone proposes something more serious. The advice is quite practical.
Okay.
It asks, isn't it maybe better to find someone who loves us rather than just focusing on finding someone you love? Food for thought.
Interesting angle.
But if you're just not feeling it, if you're not in the least interested, you absolutely have the right to turn the proposal down. Just, do it gracefully.
Right. Don't be brutal.
No. But be clear. Because, and this is sobering, a turn-down proposal is better than a divorce.
Oof, yeah. Better than a divorce. Okay, solid advice. Now, things get maybe even more interesting. Step 2, making yourself look like $1 million. Online, that is.
Right. The profile.
The guide says, look, nobody's perfect, but there's absolutely nothing wrong in giving nature a helping hand. It's about working on your image, your profile, your appearance.
Putting in the effort.
Exactly. It really pushes back against that attitude of,
Yeah.
well, this is me, take it or leave it.
Yeah, the like it or lump it approach.
Right. The guide actually frames that as a manifestation of your own insecurity. Ouch.
Ha! Direct.
It says treat your profile like a job resume. Put that level of seriousness into it because, quote, a relationship is really worth much more than a job.
That's a great perspective. It really is. Now, the picture dilemma.
Ah, yes, the picture. To post or not to post.
Well, the source says it's technically optional, for privacy concerns, but it certainly does look better.
Yeah, I guess it does.
The recommendation is maybe not put it right on the public profile initially, but send it later as an attachment or a file once you're comfortable and on a mutual exchange basis.
Okay, fair enough. And the picture itself?
Needs to be decent, obviously. Recent, please. No photos from 10 years ago.
Yeah. Guilty as charged, maybe.
And professional looking, if possible. But most importantly, smiling. No hangdog expression, no butter will not melt in my mouth look. Just genuine you looking happy.
A genuine smile. Got it. Okay, let's talk profile writing pitfalls, things to avoid. First up, the modesty trap. How do you say nice things about yourself without sounding like you're bragging?
Tricky one.
The guide has a neat trick. Frame it through others. Like instead of I'm a great singer, say, my friends think that I sing rather well.
Ah, clever.
Ah,
Attributes it externally.
yeah. And for potentially awkward questions like, what do you look like?
Yeah.
It suggests being creative, maybe a bit poetic, like, I am as fresh as peppermint.
Peppermint. Okay, memorable at least.
Then there's the opposite, the bragging blunder. Just don't. Bragging, the guide says flat out, is a major turnoff.
Big time.
Instead, use humor, implied things. If you're maybe carrying a few extra pounds, you could say something playful like, I am round in all the right places, I hope.
I hope adds that touch of self-awareness.
Exactly. The guide hammers this home. Humor sells like $1 billion.
Humor is gold. Okay, next pitfall.
The cliche catastrophe. Avoid tired phrases. Be original. Use similes and comparisons.
Okay, give me an example.
Instead of just, I'm blonde, maybe my hair is the color of freshly harvested hay. Or if you have dark skin, my body looks like polished wood. Something evocative.
Polished wood. Okay, I see. Painting a picture.
Yeah. The idea is beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder, and it is left to you to convince the beholder with your words.
Nice. What else should we avoid?
The boredom bomb. Cut the drab details. Make yourself sound interesting. And a great tip here, test it on a friend. Get their honest reaction.
Good reality check.
And finally, the vagueness vortex. Avoid statements that are confusing or could be easily misinterpreted, like, I am different or I don't play by the rules.
Why are those bad?
Because they can easily slide into sexual innuendo, the guide warns. Or you might end up, quote, biting off more than you can chew if someone takes you too literally. Clarity is key.
Clarity, not vagueness. Got it. And speaking of clarity brings us to a really critical point the source makes about the web of deceit.
Lying. Big no-no.
Huge no-no. The advice is crystal clear. It is best not to lie. Why? Because one lie leads to another, and then before you know it, the whole relationship will crash.
Yeah, the tangled web.
Exactly. The insight here is, yes, you should take care to conceal your identity. Initially, phone number, last name, workplace, that kind of stuff, for safety. But don't lie about who you are, your personality, your interests, your values. Because ultimately, you want someone to fall for the real you, right? Not some character you invented.
Absolutely. The real you. So that ties into choosing your username, your alter ego. What's the advice there?
Think quality or quantity. Do you want tons of messages or messages from the right kind of people?
Quality, I hope.
Right. So use a handle that hints at your genuine interests. Something like Nature Guy or Music Made attracts people into the same stuff. Definitely avoid overtly sexual handles like Megastud, unless...
Unless that's specifically what you're looking for, maybe. But for a relationship, probably not.
Probably not. It sets the wrong tone.
Okay. And profile length.
Brevity is key. Not too long, don't bore them. Not too short, don't seem like you couldn't be bothered. Find that sweet spot. And write in a 100% natural conversation style, like you're just talking to someone.
Makes sense. Keep it real. And to wrap up this profile section, the guide reminds us, you are unique.
Important reminder.
It actually suggests asking your best friends why they like you. What are those endearing qualities they see? That can give you great material for your profile.
That's a brilliant exercise. Get an outside perspective.
Yeah. And then there's this fun little thing called the animal test. Shark, rabbit, bear, hen, dog, cat.
Mm-hmm.
You pick one that resonates with your personality traits, not looks, and use that as a sort of creative prompt.
Ha! Okay, like a personality quiz meets profile writing.
Kinda. The point isn't the animal itself, but understanding your core traits. Because, and this is the powerful takeaway, if only we understand what our positive traits are, can we understand what kind of a person we deserve to get. Self-awareness leads to better choices.
Deep. Self-awareness is the foundation. Okay, so profile done. Now what?
Now we move to step 3, letting the relationship blossom virtually. This is about those initial chats. Caution is still the word. Don't give out personal information too soon.
Stick to handles.
Yeah, or maybe pet names if things get friendly. But the guide says be honest about them later if it gets serious. And here's a really practical tip. Helping your memory.
Helping your memory.
If you're chatting with multiple people, which is totally fine, by the way, jot down little notes, key details about each person so you don't, mix up details and accidentally ask person A about person B's dog.
Oh, that would be awkward. Good practical advice.
Right. Avoids offending someone. Then small talk. What's safe territory?
The guide suggests things like weather, sports, movies, music, even food. Pretty standard icebreakers.
And what's off limits initially?
Definitely avoid religion, politics, and family matters right at the start. Too heavy, too personal. And obviously, dirty jokes are probably not the best opening gambit unless you're sure that's the vibe.
Okay. Keep it light. And emails.
Exchange those only when you feel comfortable, when you've built some rapport. Get the conversation out of the public chat space.
Got it. Now, there's a warning here. Beware of instant intimacy.
Yes. This is important.
The guide explains that the real-time nature of chat, that here and the now, can make feelings develop super quickly, maybe faster than they would offline.
Yeah, it can feel very intense very quickly.
And that can lead to slipping up, revealing personal stuff before you really mean to. So the advice is, don't worry if someone thinks you're cold or reserved at first.
It's okay to hold back.
Exactly. You can just say, hey, it takes me a little while to open up. Set your own pace. Control the flow of information.
Boundaries are key online. Okay, but what if you suspect someone isn't being truthful? Any tips for spotting lies?
Ah, yes. The guide offers 4 ways to tell if someone is lying. These are quite specific.
Okay, lay them on me.
1. If you're in a niche chat room, ask pointed questions about the area of interest. See if their knowledge holds up.
Test their expertise. Okay.
2. Remember that note-taking tip? Jot down details they share. Then later, nonchalantly question the person about the details. See if their story changes.
Look for inconsistencies. Smart.
3. Ask seemingly general questions, like what they're looking for in a relationship. Make a mental note. Then, sometime later, repeat the question. Do you get the same answer?
Consistency check again. Makes sense.
And 4, this one's a bit cheeky. Pretend that you have chatted with the person before.
Ooh, sneaky.
Yeah. Innocently ask, oh, hey, are you the person I chatted with last week who mentioned X? Maybe throw in some compliments. See if they bite, if they fall for cheap flattery. If they do, it might mean they have multiple identities or are just easily swayed.
Wow, okay. That's some real online detective work. Use with caution, perhaps.
Definitely use with caution. So, if things do go well, eventually you might move to phone calls.
Our next step.
The guide says only give your number when the person really grows on you, when you feel you can really trust the person, and ideally, mutually exchange it, preferably at the same time.
Both share at once. Fair.
And here's a firm line. If the other person gives you grief about being cautious with your number, if they don't get why you're hesitant, the guide says, bluntly, dump the person.
Wow. No patience for pressure.
Nope. Respecting boundaries is non-negotiable. Okay, so let's assume trust is built, phone calls happened. What's next?
The big one. Step 4. Meeting face-to-face.
Dun, D-U-N. The first meeting. The guide stresses, again, don't rush it. Let the decision evolve over a number of telephone calls.
Let it happen naturally. Don't force it.
So for the rendezvous itself, any specific advice?
Absolutely. First, location. Public place. Always. Restaurant, coffee shop, somewhere where there are plenty of people around, just in case, Safety first.
Absolutely, public place. Got it.
And here's a key tip. Lunch is best.
Lunch. Why lunch specifically?
Fewer expectations of, intimacy compared to a dinner date. The guide notes very few people end up going home together after lunch. It keeps things lighter, less pressure.
Ah, okay. Lowers the stakes a bit. Smart.
Also, pay attention to table manners. The guide says they can tell us a lot about a person's upbringing and background.
Interesting. Little clues.
And, crucially, there is absolutely no compulsion to end up in bed just because you met in person. Zero obligation. Be on time, dress well, simple but good. Put together.
Okay. Manage expectations. Be safe. Be presentable. What about making a good impression beyond just showing up?
The guide has a lovely suggestion for leaving your mark behind. Be creative, personal.
Like what?
Instead of just a business card, maybe a personalized token, like a little poem you wrote beforehand, keep it short, or some pressed flowers on a nice card, and present it kind of shyly. I made this for you.
Oh, that's sweet. Not, I bought this for you.
Exactly. Believe me, the guide says, it's miles better to say, I made this for you than I bought this for you. Shows genuine thought and effort.
I like that. Very personal touch. Are there other options for a first meet?
Yeah, if a one-on-one feels too intense, the source suggests making it a group activity, preferably a foursome, like you each bring a friend.
A double date, kind of.
Sort of, but maybe more casual. It takes away the awkwardness, feels less stressful, and adds a layer of safety. Just maybe don't bring your friend who's a total chatterbox.
Huh. Good tip. Keep the focus balanced. And drinking.
Moderate. Keep your wits about you.
Sensible. Okay, the age-old question. Who pays?
Decide beforehand and tell the other person. The guide strongly recommends planning to go Dutch.
Split the bill. Why?
So that if it doesn't work out, if there's no spark, you certainly do not want to be obliged because they paid for your meal, keeps things clean.
Maintains independence. Okay, what if you're juggling multiple dates, which the guide says is okay before commitment?
Right. It says you have the right to choose. It's your life. And it offers this rather bold test if you accidentally bump into 2 days at the same time.
Oh, no. What do you do?
Introduce them. Introduce date number 1 to date number 2 as your friends and watch how they behave.
Whoa, that's intense. Checking for jealousy.
Seems like it. A bit of a stress test. But the guide strongly advises against intentionally setting up a double date where you're dating both people simultaneously in the same space. That's just asking for trouble.
Yeah, okay. Avoid the intentional drama. Phew. So, shifting slightly, how do you make that great offline impression beyond just the first meeting basics?
This is about offline dating, how to make that great impression. It circles back to appearance, but in person. Being well-groomed is key. Nails, hair, teeth, and especially breath. The basics matter.
Details count.
Clothing. Comfortable, but nice. Nothing too loud or attention-grabbing in a bad way. For women, makeup should accentuate your looks, not to hide it. Keep it natural-ish. Makes sense.
And since men should aim for something masculine, women something light and dainty. Subtle is usually better. It's about putting that best foot forward, reflecting the care you took with your online profile.
Okay, looking good, smelling good. What about conversation, personality? Yes. The source says the secret is charm.
Charm. Easy to say.
Well, it defines charm as making the other person feel comfortable and helping them relax. Break the ice. Maybe a spontaneous joke if the moment feels right.
Spontaneous, not pre-planned.
Right. Be considerate and as thoughtful as possible, and crucially, be a good listener. Show genuine interest in what they're saying. Ask questions.
Nodding and asking questions. Got it. What if they talk too much?
Use a subtle sign like a raised eyebrow or a smile to gently signal you'd like to speak or to react without interrupting. Again, humor. Humor rarely fails, the guide repeats, but warns, don't overdo it. Don't become the stand-up comic.
Balance.
Okay.
What about gifts? Beyond that, first, made this for you token.
Keep it modest if you give anything at all later on. Flowers, chocolates, the classics. And try to subtly find out their preferences first. The goal isn't to woo them with expensive stuff. It's just to create a good and lasting impression. A small token of appreciation.
And if they forget a gift you were maybe expecting?
Reassure them quickly. Oh, it's totally fine. Don't worry about it. Keep it light.
Okay, good grace. Now, the tough part. Step 5. Once bitten. What if, after all this effort, it just does not work out?
Yeah, the reality check.
The guide's answer is surprisingly straightforward and maybe a little bracing.
What is it?
Repeat the whole process again.
Just start over.
Pretty much. It strongly advises. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Keep your options or avenues open while you're exploring. It's okay, even smart, to try out different people before you decide to commit to one person.
That makes sense. Takes the pressure off any single interaction, and the guide reinforces that only the very lucky ones get the right pick at the first go. It's normal for it to take time and multiple tries.
Right. It's a process.
Yeah.
And you have the right to choose. You should never feel forced into making a commitment.
Absolutely not.
If someone is pressuring you, the advice is firm. Put your foot down very firmly and tell the person that you need more time.
Stand your ground.
But be fair. Don't leave them hanging forever. State a clear time frame. Like, look, I need about a week to think things over. Be respectful, but clear about your boundaries.
Clear, respectful boundaries. Seems like a recurring theme.
It really is. Wow. Okay, we have covered a lot of ground here. I feel like we really have left no stones unturned in this deep dive.
You really dug in.
From that initial strategy, the self-awareness for the profile, navigating the chats carefully, all the way to meeting in person and handling things if they don't click. It's a whole journey.
It truly is a comprehensive roadmap. It shows that even though dating has gone digital, those core things, honesty, compatibility, respect, charm, they're still absolutely vital. Maybe even more so online.
Yeah. It's not just about the tech.
Not at all. And, connecting this to the bigger picture, what the sources seem to suggest is that if you approach online dating with real intention, with that self-awareness we talked about, it really can speed up finding someone deeply compatible.
Yeah. Accelerate the process.
But here's something to think about, a final thought for you listening. What new challenges pop up when these relationships born online have to fully exist offline, when the digital safety net is gone? How do we keep applying these principles, the honesty, the patience, the understanding, to navigate those real-world dynamics?
That's a really good question. How does it translate long-term?
Exactly. And maybe even think bigger. How could these strategies, the self-awareness, the clear communication, the boundary setting, apply to other relationships in your life? Not just romantic ones found online, something to mull over. But for now, here's to your first dating success online.